You know what's so annoying? Growth doesn't always feel like growth. It can very much give confusion, as if things are definitely not working out. It'll have you feeling so frustrated because you're putting in all this work and yet seeing no results. And it's at that very moment, and that's where self doubt loves to show up and show out. So now you have questions. You are questioning yourself if you have what it takes to actually make this work. You're wondering if your efforts are ever going to have any type of outcome that you would even remotely be okay with at this point, because now we're seeking desperation. But I really want to remind you so much significant growth actually happens underground well before any visible signs are showing above the surface. So let me give you 5 signs that you are absolutely growing. Even if it feels like you are standing completely still, okay? So let's get into it. To measure our growth based on external results alone, that we often forget about everything that is shifting internally. Think of it like an iceberg. When you see an iceberg, you see about 10% of it that's actually above the surface. But the remaining 90% is what you can't even see below the waterline. Friend, your growth is happening the same way. There are so many things shifting and growing within you internally that it may take some time, like significant time, before you actually see some tangible results on the outside. So just keep that iceberg in mind as we go through these 5 signs. Sign one, you start to notice your tolerance level has changed. Like you used to be able to tolerate the slick and sly comments. Now you are calling it out. You used to be the yes queen. You would say yes to every single inquiry and question that came in. Every time somebody needed a favor, somebody needs somebody to run some errands, watch some kids, you would say yes. But now you have boundaries in place. So now you either pause for the cause and say, you know what, let me check my schedule and get back to you. Or you just hit them real quick with the no. But you just start noticing that the things that you used to tolerate, the things that you used to let slide, you no longer even have the capacity to let anything ride. So, when you start noticing your tolerance level for the things that you used to not let bother you so much, and now you call it out straight up for what it is, that's how you know, friend, there is some internal growth happening and shifting. Getting honest with yourself, but with kindness and grace. There was a time when you used to just constantly give yourself tough love. But now you can be honest with yourself about where you are, what you think, how you feel, and not judge, shame, or criticize yourself for it. You are in a place where you are finally the observer. You can take a step back and recognize there are some areas for growth here and not make yourself out to be the worst person on the planet. You know what I mean, too, because sometimes we can be our own worst critic, but you have decided that you can actually hold yourself accountable without tearing yourself down. This is such a beautiful place to be when you can actually just be honest with yourself. No shade, no shame, and no judgment. Just keeping it real with yourself, still handling yourself with love and care and respect. Because if there is anyone who deserves all of those things from you, it's you. reactions are changing. Friend, have you noticed that people used to be able to easily get underneath your skin, and now you can either choose to respond or not? Maybe you used to be the first one to bring the hyphy movement. Maybe you were always the one who was just waiting for some action. Were you like Day Day and Friday when he was like, boom, I got action? But now you don't even let things take you out of your character. Now you are not interested in having the last word because now you are like, you know what? You can go on ahead and have it. You don't even have the interest or the energy to meet somebody where they are. Maybe you used to be the one who loved to match energy. Maybe that used to be your default. So if somebody was coming at you, coming in hot, you would match the energy. And now you are like, you know what? Okay, that's cool. If that's how you see it, it's been real. Okay. Good. I love that for you. So, if you notice that now you are in a place where certain things that used to upset you or cause you to pop off that no longer you have that same reaction or energy for, that is definitely a sign of growth. Friend, that is maturity at its finest. And in a world where so many people want to have the last word, in a world where so many people are happy to give everybody the top flight business, when you can find yourself emotionally regulated and not matching energy, but maintaining who you are, regardless of what someone else says or does, friend, that is power. Hmm, look at you growing and stuff. You now feel uncomfortable. Friend, this is such a huge sign of growth. I remember when my mom passed away, when she made her transition to heaven, and I was doing my best to string together a bunch of complaints. Like, I felt like complaining, I had a few grievances. But the more that I tried to complain on repeat, I just could not do it. And mind you, before my mom passed, complaining was my thing. I know it might be hard to believe, but I used to be able to complain like nobody's business. But after my mom passed, I just didn't have access to that old version of me. And I'm sure that it was because something bigger shifted in me because I realized that all of the things that I had been complaining about at the end of the day, none of those things meant anything. When you have suffered the most significant loss of your life, the little things just don't seem to have as much of an impact as they used to do. And I really started using my energy wisely. If I was going to complain, it was going to be worth it. So, if you notice that you feel uncomfortable doing a habit that you used to have, but now when you try to do it, it just doesn't sit well with you. You feel uncomfortable, or maybe you find yourself trying to say it and mid sentence, you can't finish it. Notice things like that because that is really such a huge sign that you are growing. The feel here, friend. You didn't quit. You did not throw in the towel. You might have taken a break. You might have pressed pause, but you did not quit. The fact that you are still showing up, The fact that you are still strategizing, putting in the work, practicing your reps, all of that effort, friend, it is bound to pay off. The fact that you are still here, despite any setbacks, despite any barriers that came up to stop you, you are still here. And that alone deserves celebration. So make sure that you give yourself a little pat on the back for still being here and showing up. Because, friend, that is so much of the victory. Just showing up and still being here. So cheer for yourself because sometimes those might be the only applause that are happening. So be proud of yourself for still showing up because I'm proud of you too. Growth is not always loud. It's not always super obvious in the external results. You have to also look at the internal growth that's happening because that deserves just as much celebration as any results that show up on the outside. Remember, now is the time that your roots, they are growing deep. You are laying a strong foundation that you can continue to build on. You want to have built something to last, not something that is going to easily blow away with the slightest gust of wind. So be proud of the strong foundation and roots that you are planting. I promise you, all of your seeds that you are planting, you will have a beautiful garden. The only thing you have to remember is for as much as we get to tend to the soil and plant the seeds and nurture all of those things so that they do grow, we have zero control over when they decide to bloom. This is where you have to trust the process and trust that what you are doing will, in fact, bloom when it is divinely on time. And that's so much better than our timing anyway, friend. Ooh. So tell me, which one of these five signs have you noticed within yourself that you've actually done within the last 90 days, but you haven't given yourself any credit for? Hmm. Ooh, friend, I can't wait to hear what you discovered and comment below. Tell me all about it because I want to celebrate you. I want to celebrate you in the area that you find yourself showing up and growing the most. And if you love real conversations just like this, all about growth, becoming, showing up for yourself, definitely make sure that you are subscribed. And I can't wait to meet you down in the comments and see you in the next episode. See you soon, as in tomorrow.